I was listening to this podcast a while back, and the one thing the guest said that really stuck out to me was that we never reach our true potential. And when I first heard that, I thought, what the hell? I mean, what's the point then if we never reach our true potential? Like, what are we actually doing? And he said, the reason we don't reach it is because we simply don't live forever, right? I mean, the idea of potential is that you're always going up and up and up and up, and you're constantly progressing. So, we're limited by the amount of time we have before we expire. So it got me thinking about that. And of course, the more you recognize a certain concept, you start to see it play itself out in real life. And man, so today I called a new dentist, right? I wasn't too happy with the dentist that I had. And I was supposed to do that about a month ago. I've been putting it off. Just didn't want to do it. The discomfort of making that phone call was too much for me. And I thought, in my living room earlier today, I was like, why am I having a hard time just booking an appointment? I mean, spoiler alert, the call was like 30 seconds. It was painless. But it was still hard. And the reason why this is an important example is because I've worked as a salesman whose job was to make calls every day. Granted, that was a decade ago, but I've also worked as a producer where it was my job to call agencies that represent actors and try to book them onto jobs, which it's one of the scariest gigs I've ever had. And the fact that I've had that experience under my belt and I was still afraid to call the freaking dentist just goes to show that I am very, very far away from reaching my true potential. In fact, if we were really to look at it from, I guess you could say, a mathematical perspective, a graph, wouldn't your true potential just be your peak? People say that guy peaked in high school. Well, peaks for everyone are relatively short-lived, right? So that doesn't really work very well in the context of an entire lifespan. I think you got to have something more useful, more actionable than that. Because a peak, in the same way making a movie, shooting the movie is the shortest part of the process. You spend a lot of time preparing for it. You spend the shortest amount of time filming it, and then you spend even more time than the initial process editing it and correcting. And that process for making a film is kind of a parallel to how life plays out, which, that's an experience I've been really grateful for because it summarizes the things you'll go through over and over again. And so I thought, well, if my true potential is the peak and it's just the filming aspect, then that's not very much to go off of. So I think a better thing to conceptualize, or the reminder that you should get out of this video, is that you'll always be practicing. And the journey, the practice, is the fun part. And if it's not the fun part, or it's not the gratifying part, because people misconstrue fun as oh, I'm having a good time all the time, I feel happy. That's not how this works. It needs to feel like an accomplishment, little accomplishments throughout the day, the week, the month, so on and so forth, as you progress towards a bigger goal, which of course you planned out from the get-go, because we're good filmmakers and we do the pre-production process and all that jazz. Even though I know you're probably not a filmmaker. If you are, then hey, that's awesome. So you always got to practice, whether you play sports, you play esports, you paint, you do all these things. You got to practice, even if you're at the top of your game, because technically I mastered the skill of being able to comfortably talk to strangers on the phone. But that still wasn't enough, because after I stopped doing it, I wasn't comfortable anymore. I couldn't even call the dentist. So take that for what it is. Good luck to you in your journey, and hope to see you in the next video. Take care.